How did you end up coming to Stargate? Were you a fan of science fiction or the show? Is it something where you maybe just heard about the audition? What brought you to the show?
So yeah, Stargate it's interesting because I've known about Stargate most of my life, right? I was not a sci-fi fan, but I saw Star Wars when I was, 12. So I I grew to understand the connection between science fiction and the world that I didn't really know existed. It just seemed like some strange genre, right? But I was more of like, I guess my genre was I did sitcoms, like I was on Facts of Life. I did, so I
Oh,
did
wow.
television and comedies, and I had a cable television show, and I did a lot of silly stuff when I was younger, which was really fun. And then I got into the horror genre, which was really, really fun. And I think what was interesting about Stargate is I auditioned for a few different characters, but there was always a lot of technical jargon, you know. I don't know, there was very kind of cut and dry stuff. So the auditions were very, you got to be able to say blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I did fine, but I don't think I didn't get those parts. I think for a reason. And I think when Katie Brown came along, the casting directors had already known me, and they brought me in, and I was like, okay, this makes sense. I mean, she's a botanist and she loves the earth and she loves plants and flowers and she wants to fall in love so badly. And she's a human being, not saying that the others aren't human beings, but I don't know that I could personally connect to those
Yeah.
female roles. So it was really fun when she came along. I was really excited, and I think it was a no-brainer for me, and probably for casting and for Martin, who wrote Duet, which was the first episode that you see Katie, because there's comedy, there's heart, there's love. They seem human. There's something very human about them, and I think that's what drew me to this role, and that's why it made sense for me.
Oh, yeah. No, I love that. That does make a lot of sense that you can connect in that way for sure. And I think Katie definitely portrays all of that, which is really fun to see. And so can you remember your reaction then once you got the role and then you went on set for the first time? How did that feel?
Well, what's really odd, again, because being because I wasn't a regular character on the show, so that's kind of like a train. There's a train and it's running along, and you have to just kind of hop on. Right? You don't have time to like warm up and introduce yourself, and hey, you don't have that kind of luxury, right? So you just kind of like everything's moving, and then you kind of walk in, and then all of a sudden this is okay, you're here, and you're like, okay, hi, who are you all? Right? There's a bit of that. But I was working so much at the time that the day that we shot the first scene in Duet, I had literally was a block away working on a horror movie called Slither. And I was working on that the exact same week. So I would go from I would literally I remember the day because I was in like prosthetics, and it was a really long day, and the character was very different than Katie. I had a southern
Yeah.
accent, she was very sexual, there was a lot going on. And then literally I go to sleep, I wake up, and I walk into this Stargate Atlantis reality, which is just it was awesome. What was great about Stargate is I mean, their sets are real. You walk in and it's this whole labyrinth of sets, and
Oh,
the
wow.
gate,
Oh,
and
wow.
oh no, it's elaborate. And so you walk into this huge soundstage, but you don't even it doesn't seem like a soundstage because you're walking into all the different environments. And
Yeah.
once you're on set, you have free reign to walk around. And they would be working on the fight scene, and then it's like, oh, they're working on the fight scene, they're working on their stunts, and then you go, oh, there's the gate, and of course Katie doesn't walk through the gate, but of course you want to walk through the gate. You can't walk through the
Yeah.
gate. Damn, my character doesn't walk through the gate. I'm like, oh, but it's there, and then it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
Wow. That makes me wonder, like how you're mentioning how you were working on Slither at the time and how the characters were so different. Like, I imagine as an actress, how is that really challenging then to do, like to kind of switch in and out? Or is that just something that's kind of part of the job that you feel is easy to do when you're playing two totally different characters around the same time?
I think it's difficult, but it's interesting because you'll see a lot of the supporting characters. That's what we have to do, right? Lead
Right.
lead characters, they have the luxury from beginning to end. They're working on one character and the through line, and then you have these supporting characters that are being having to be very flexible in their process and in their character work. And I actually I like both. I love both. I think they're both fascinating. I think they're both difficult and challenging, but it's still fun. I think it's
Yeah.
fun. I think it's fun to be able to go from, you know, you know, trailer trash horror, character to a go out, living on Atlantis as a botanist who's very, you know, needy and loving, and then because I think it's still all me, and it's still all we're all still human, so that part doesn't really
Yeah.
change. Depends on the writers and the style of the show and the genre, but that's fun. I mean, that's pure fun.
Yeah, to me, that sounds like that would be one of the more interesting aspects of acting is maybe taking completely opposing things and that digging into that challenge of how can
Yeah.
I approach this and how can and it's like it never gets boring, right? So,
No, it never gets boring at all. In fact, it's a life, it's what I mean, when you choose to do that, that's what you do for life, really. It's part of who you
Yeah.
are. And I know I mean, one of the reasons why Katie left, or why um Katie and Rodney had our split, was because I moved. Like, as an
Oh,
actor, I
okay.
left. I actually moved from Vancouver to San Diego. I think it was maybe between season 3 and 4, because I wasn't a regular character. I didn't have I didn't even know I would come back. And
Yeah.
I had a young child who was 2, and I was working a lot. And I would go to set, and I kept thinking about, and I it was just too much. I was like, I want to spend some time with my daughter and my family, and I want to
Yeah.
have another kid. So I moved to San Diego. I changed my last name back to my maiden name, and kind of disappeared for 20 years. It's 20 years. I can't believe it's been 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then I had my son and my daughter, and now he just turned 18. Well, he turns 18 in a few
Oh,
weeks.
exciting
And
time, yeah.
that's Yeah, but I didn't lose my desire and love for acting, but I had my priorities changed, and
yeah.
I needed to take care of that. That was really important for me, and I didn't think that I would be able to come back. I kind of assumed I wouldn't. And then when my son 2 years ago, he's like, "Mom, look, you're on." Like my kids started finding me, which is so fun. My kids,
Oh,
Mom, have you ever seen what's that? Have you like? And I'm like, you can't watch Slither. You're not allowed to watch it, right? And then they would sneak it, and then they would say, "Mom, you need to get back to that." I'm like, I can't. We're in San Diego, and what's in I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind. I'm just keep talking because it's the
oh
first time
no,
I
please
really, really
do.
Yeah, please
so
do.
what's interesting is that episode Quarantine, because I would
Mhm.
just rewatch these. So I remember it's all coming back. What's interesting about Quarantine is that the characters are isolated from each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
And during COVID, right? My family, we were all kind of isolated from the world, and we were in a kind of our bubble. And I see it's interesting because I feel like Rodney and Katie couldn't figure out how to connect, you know? And I could see
Yeah.
them wanting to. And I remember even on set, I remember David and I were a lot like, shouldn't we I think we wanted so badly for the characters to just like activate, Like,
Yeah.
I think we wanted them to activate. There's this kind of phallic plant, right? There's all these insinuations, and yet somehow these characters don't know how. And
Yeah.
it really is interesting. That's from 20 years ago. And I notice with my kids post COVID that I feel like that's the problem kids are having now, is learning how to connect. So
Yeah.
it's to me, it's really interesting to see how 20 years ago that quarantine episode almost changed my life now, because it was during COVID when my kids and we're like, we got to make it, we need to get out in the world, right? We need to show up. I need to get back. Um, my daughter went off to college. My son needed to be in LA
Oh,
as well. So I was watching that connection
yeah.
piece. And I really
Wow.
wish, if it was a different world, that Katie and Rodney, one of them, had just taken that action, some
Yeah.
action,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's something that maybe, I don't know, I just wish people would do more of now,
Mhm.
activate
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
touch each
And just
other.
kind of
Yeah. Yes.
just go for it, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Just
that's
hug.
such a it's such a beautiful full circle story. So then I have to ask your honest take. Were Katie Brown and McKay a good match? And why or why not? Like, what kind of future could you have imagined for them had they been able to, say, for example, activate?
Well, I think they were a good match, honestly. I think they were a great match, except for that missing piece. And I feel if
Mhm.
one of them had been brave enough to really, really go for it, like really just be honest. And I feel like Katie was waiting for him, and he just wasn't, he couldn't do that. But I think that he needed somebody that could nurture him, that could allow him to be the way he was. And she needed someone to bring her out of her bubble. She was so isolated from
Yeah.
everybody. She lived in her lab. She didn't even have a radio in her lab. Like, she didn't have connection to the rest. And I think that's why Katie loved, like, just, I think she looked up to him because he was almost like a celebrity. Here she's this
Yeah.
little botanist in the lab, and he's like listening to the pulse of the universe there. And I think that she wanted him to bring her in and be part of that. And I think that would have helped her be more social and animated, and have more importance there. And it makes sense that she went back to Earth because she couldn't find it there. And I think it's kind of sad. And I think that
Yeah.
I think she would have been great for Rodney, because again, he just needed someone to, like, feel him. It's like,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. It's almost like a little boy in a sense, right? He's almost like a little boy. He just doesn't know how to access what he's going through and express it in a human way. He's got a lot of anxiety and
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
worries. And, so I think that they're what personally, that's what I think. I think they would be I think they are a great couple. I think that, um, and I think they could have been if they had been able to take that step.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think when me and Alyssa have talked about this in the past, like you guys were our favorite, our favorite
Yeah.
McKay couple
Yes.
because it seemed like it worked. It seemed like, the character of Katie just like almost peels away the layers of McKay's arrogance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And helps him kind of it's almost like it helps him kind of be more true to himself and kind of be able to express himself a little bit better. And I know I definitely was disappointed, like when they like
Yeah.
weren't staying together. Just like, no, where'd she
Yeah.
go?
Yeah. Well, I watched it back too. I felt the same way. I was like, oh wait, it's so sad. I actually cry. I'm like, oh, because
Yeah,
I don't know. You need people. You need each other. You need people that can help you
yeah,
be better, be the best
Mhm.
you can be. And I think Rodney, he needs that. I think
yeah,
that,
for
yeah,
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
you. I agree.
Yeah, they brought out the best
I
in
have a
each other.
baby Rodney and
Oh,
Ambrosa here.
nice.
Oh,
baby Rodneys. No.
Uh,
That's adorable.
so one of the questions we were thinking up was when you were on set, and like you said, since you're a supporting character, maybe you weren't on there as much as we would perceive you to be, right? But do you have any memorable moments like with the cast and crew that you can remember that kind of stand out to you, whether it was just like a silly moment or just, I don't know, something that stood out to you?
Well, I think if you ever, I don't think I had one scene with any other character with the exception of Duet.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not have one scene with any other character.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I never even thought
so
of that. Yeah.
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 so I was never on set with the entire cast, but because the set was set up in a way, it was really fun because my scene would be here, but they'd be working on all these other scenes. So
Mhm.
I was kind of more like a fly on the wall.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I I watched, I think, and I mentioned this a bit earlier, but I loved when they were working on the fight scenes. I remember watching them practice and practice the fight scenes, and they were really into them. Like they were really into making sure that they looked good, you know, that their arms were nice and tight, right? They were like it was pretty powerful, strong men and women on set. And
Mhm.
I think they were that was really important to them that those looked very real and that they didn't get hurt. And I remember watching them and I was very impressed by the stunt work. It was really fun.
Wow. That would be
And then
cool to see.
the
Yeah.
sets were amazing. I think they were setting up, I remember they were setting up an ancient village. I think there's an episode where there's an ancient village they find. And I was there when they were building it.
Oh,
And I remember,
wow.
yeah, and they would talk about future sets while you're on, so you could walk around and it's just like being in this fantasy land. It was
Yeah.
just, the set's beautiful, amazing.
Wow. That
As
sounds
far as
really cool.
individuals on set, uh, they were very nice to me. Everyone was introduced themselves to me. I talked to them briefly, but I don't have any great stories. I would love
Yeah.
some. You know?
No, that's totally fine. And that makes sense. And that's really cool to hear about the environment, and seeing the stunts and all of that. That would be really fascinating. I would love that.
I love that. I have thought about that. It's great. I think there's a scene where they have like that, and they're doing a whole, they've got like they've got the staffs, the sticks, and they have to hit, I don't
Yeah.
know, there's just so much great stunt work. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that seems really cool. I can't imagine actually trying that though. I'd probably like hurt myself.
Me too.
Well, again, that's why botanist,
Yeah.
botanist makes sense.
You could be a warrior botanist.
Yeah, I mean, it
I'm
depends.
happy being a botanist, but
Just start throwing plants.
Yeah.
oh, don't touch the plants. No.
No, the plants are the thing that attack you. I could imagine that in an
Oh,
episode,
right.
the
Oh my
killer
gosh.
plants.
I like that.
That would have been
Revenge
an
of
interesting episode.
yeah, yeah. Revenge of the of Earth and nature
Yeah.
and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Since you had so much time on set to observe as well, and you got this experience of seeing all these environments, I also want to ask, like, your kind of impression of the vibe or the atmosphere, because I think a lot of us as Stargate fans, I mean, we watch and we pay attention to also media and interviews and other information about the show, and it always, to me, like Stargate always gives off a very like a community vibe, a nice positive vibe, and the fan community seems very positive. And so I definitely want to ask about the set if you felt anything similar there.
Absolutely. Everyone was kind of in groups, right? So even when we were I remember one scene, I feel like some of the cast members were sitting on the side watching and they were very positive. I never felt anything but like a community. I did
Mhm.
feel that. I did feel like everyone's there for a purpose, for a reason. Everyone was excited to be there. I mean, I don't remember or recall anything that was other than, I think they just loved, I think everyone just really loved the process and the characters. I mean, I think David loved, he was funny. And he, I think he wanted his character to have a relationship really badly. I think he wanted his character to have a real arc and connections. Um, they talked about stuff. I could tell they were talking. The producers and the writers and the actors would discuss characters with each other. They were very open. I Again, I was stepping in, so I didn't feel that that was my place. Although I do remember, again, I think David and I think it was quarantine where we were kind of like, shouldn't we at least make an attempt to try, to find a way to touch or to, but it just wasn't, that wasn't going to happen. So, um, yeah, they were it was lovely, lovely, lovely set, lovely people. I think you're right. Community. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think anything. I can't think of anything. Everything was great. I mean,
Like, do you
yeah.
think, because of how you mentioned like your love for them, potentially being together and uh, like, do you know, like, and I'm not sure if you know, but do you know if that was always written for it to kind of end in the way that it did? Or was that more because then you moved on to kind of, take a break and then they had to kind of change the story to have it make sense? Was that kind of why it ended in the way that it did? Because if I remember correctly, she goes off to a different, I can't remember fully what happens. I think she goes off to a different location, right? Like
Yeah, I
she
think she goes
goes
back
to
to she
work
goes to Earth.
elsewhere. Yeah.
Um, I think
Yeah.
I think if you look at the episode time differences, um, I moved after um there was Duet and then Sunday. And Sunday, I think I moved literally after Sunday. I thought that was it. Because there was like a big chunk of time. And then they brought me back, but they had to fly me in. And I think they realized that that wasn't going to work. I think that was far and I was not as,
Right.
I wasn't involved. And so then I think they probably figured out how we're going to have to find a way to end this. That's my assumption.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I was still living down the street from the studio, maybe Katie would have been around more. It would
Yeah.
have been a lot easier for them because they could write her in and it's like, oh, call Brenda, she's down the street. But I don't think, I would assume it was more that I left.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I've had fans ask me before, what happened to Katie? And I'm like, I moved to San Diego. It's like,
Yeah, it makes sense though, because I remember feeling like when I was rewatching it and then it gets to that point, I'm like, oh, that felt so sudden. Like all of a sudden they're just
yeah.
no longer together. And there's real no like indication like anything else is gonna reappear with that. And so yeah, I was always just kind of curious. Like that makes sense. But I guess also I'd be curious, like, would you like ever so now that like the new series has been announced that they will be coming out with a new Stargate series, and I know that they've mentioned that um I think they've mentioned that it's kind of going to be, a brand new cast and everything, but I would imagine
Yeah.
maybe they'll have people here and there maybe make appearances or come in into some capacity. If you were given that opportunity, would that be something that you would, think would make sense for the character for Katie? And would that be something like how would you imagine that being like if you know, just kind of creatively thought of how that character would come back?
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, Martin and the team, they're going to figure out what they're doing, and of course, they're going to need to have a young cast um, involved. So, I mean, I moved back to LA 2 years ago, so I'm back. I'm starting to act again. I've got back into the horror genre. I've been doing plays. I'm teaching, and so it would be really fun. Like, I would love to find a way to bring Katie back, and if I had to, there's so many possibilities. Perhaps Katie. maybe she just maybe she just lived in her bubble and it's really sad, which would be really sad, and she never really
Oh,
evolved. Or maybe she went to Earth and she fell in love and she, you know, has kids, and maybe her kids are out in the universe somewhere. And so she's a mom and has a connection through maybe a kid that she has. And I guess it couldn't be Rodney's.
Although that would make an interesting storyline.
Like, what would
yeah.
that happen?
What
Let's see, like
happened?
those plant. Maybe there's some seed. There's some seed
Yeah.
from the Rodney plants, and then the seed. I don't know. Okay. I guess anything can happen in Stargate.
It's science
You never
fiction,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, you never know. But I think Katie being a mom would be really interesting, because I think I'm a mom, and I think about,
Yeah.
me, right, in connection to it. And I've been teaching now, and I've been, not a lot, but have an acting class at the Strasberg Institute, and I
Oh,
have a
nice.
lot of 20-year-olds that come in, and I feel like there's a lot going on in the world. And I think
Yeah.
that, like, as Brenda James, myself, I think I've taken on a place of trying to help and share and mentor and teach. And I think that's something that Katie could also be doing, right? Bringing up,
Yeah.
helping, sharing the environment, what's going on with the environment, climate change. I know my kids are worried about what's going on in the world. So I
Yeah.
think it would be interesting if similar to my own arc, if Katie saw the world through her kids' eyes, and um, what's happening, and um, you know, life, earth, plants, air,
Yeah.
humanity, contact, expression. Those are the things that I think Katie and Rodney were missing. And maybe Katie found that, you know.
Yes. Yeah. And I
So,
think that's something too that Stargate does so beautifully is they always write it in a way that really kind of brings out real world problems within the sci-fi genre, right? It's kind of like they bring
yeah.
out it really makes you think and question things. And a lot of times me and Alyssa have always talked about how there's always that gray area with everything. And so I think all of the points that you just brought up that Katie could bring to the new series like would make total sense, I think, with how Stargate's kind of portrayed things in the past too.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Stargate usually they do deal with a lot of things that are kind of current and going on. And
Yeah.
it was the one that I think what's so special about it as a show also is that it's kind of set in our current time. And so how perfect would it be like for one of the heroes of the show to be a botanist who worked in Atlantis, that's a mother and has this sort of teaching and caring and human nature. Like this would be like perfect for current times, I think, with everything.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's needed. I think things can be so separated and so sterile, and sci-fi doesn't have to be and isn't, but it would be nice to bring in nature and connection. And what's wrong with a mother? Like, a mother, I mean, mothers are amazing, and don't get a lot of credit, honestly. And
Yeah.
I think that's perfect for Katie, because Katie never really gets a lot of credit either. She's trying to cure diseases with plants. She's really trying to do the work, but that's not the same as a warrior, or it's a
Yeah.
different class, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
A different kind
Um,
of warrior.
yeah,
different kind of
yeah,
warrior. Yeah.
exactly. But you did mention that you are do you currently so you currently teach then acting, and then since you have also gotten back into acting, was there any like specific role that got you back into doing that? I know you kind of mentioned earlier that like your son had kind of mentioned to you like, oh, hey, go for it, kind of thing. But is there anything specific that kind of obviously you have a love for acting, I would assume, and especially you're teaching it too. Like, is there anything specific that kind of got you back in the direction of kind of going back out there and taking on more projects and things like that?
Well, I came back and just started to work out. So I'm a member of the Actors Studio. I went back to LA and I started observing and doing scene work, um, picking up some of the classics and just revisiting them as an older woman. So instead of playing Laura in Glass Menagerie, all of a sudden I'm playing Amanda, or I'm not Ophelia, I'm now Gertrude. So it's kind of looking back at phenomenal plays and theater and figuring out where I fit in now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I took up the challenge to do a play at a local theater. It was called You Can't Take It With You. And I played Penny and Penny Sycamore, who's the mom on it, but it was like huge. It was a really long play with like 300 lines and
Oh
I'm like, if
wow.
I can do this, I can come back because I needed to
Yes, yeah.
challenge myself. And I did. And I pulled it off and I'm like, okay, here I am. I'm gonna continue. And I was able to start, what's it like on set, right? What's it gonna be like when there's a camera on me? How am I gonna how am I gonna work, with my older face and my older hands and with my experience now and bringing that into the work. And I'm like, it's still really fun, but it's almost there's just more to pull from.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying that. And I think the older roles I think there's just so much more to offer for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really love that. Um, as far as anything else, I'm doing a play now. I think I mentioned that. And
Yes.
it's just different. I'm trying to push myself into different areas. And at the Strasberg Institute, what's great is I'm just doing one class. So I have
Okay.
one class a week because I want to keep myself open for other work because I've been busy, which is really fun too. But
Yeah.
I uh I want to challenge myself. I really, really want to challenge myself. And I want to represent women who are real, that have real wrinkles, that,
Yes.
have real bodies, that have real minds, that, are smart and have to struggle and exist. And um, everything's not easy. And they're not necessarily thought of as the heroes. Um, and I think that's really important. I think a lot of times women come across as either victims, right? And that's how they're written or played.
Yeah.
It's a perspective, or they have to be so almost not real,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't want to do either.
Yeah.
I really am excited to watch my face age. I'm really
Yes.
excited
Yeah.
to be a real physical mom, having to
Yeah.
play moms, having to play women that have had to survive and struggle and find their way and do it because they're strong, they're
Yeah.
smart. And that doesn't make them victims just because society puts us where society puts us, or our lens puts us where, the lens of the world, or from, different perspectives, how they look at us. So I'm really excited to take that on. And I think when I'm teaching, I think that's also a perspective I have when I
Hmm.
have young students coming to me and they look at roles. I want to make sure that they're looking at the depth of the characters in a strong way, not in a victim perspective. And I
Yeah.
want them to see that they can do a lot with their art. You can do a lot with the art. This play we're doing, it's a Pinter play, which is really outside my box. I have to have a British accent. She's kind of a caricature in a sense. She's more of a woman of the world, very different than Katie. And um and what I love about the play is that the people there's it's kind of just it's so timely. So much is going on in the world, and these very wealthy he it takes place at a party. It's called Party Time,
Hmm.
and the women and the men are all dressed up and they're wealthy and they have everything they'd ever want, and yet they're kind of complaining about little things and they're worried about how they look. And meanwhile, outside, people are being, just grabbed off the street. This is a play that was written, I think, in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
it's, I think that theater and art, I think ballet, opera, film, television, sci-fi. I think we can attach ourselves to really important subjects. And I think we
Yeah.
can say things. And I think we can make a difference. And I think, I think 20, 30-year-olds need to see that and experience it and understand how important it is. So um, I think that's why I'm here now. I think that's why I came back. And I came back older.
That's really beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because so often I have said that it's like I'll be watching something and I actually get excited if I can see someone's frown expression, and see their wrinkle. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's a real expression.
I
And I get
know.
excited about it because it's like when everything is so frozen, you can't really, you know, they might be filling it inward, but I would imagine it's harder to show it, and it makes it less believable. And it's so nice to, like, everyone has their own unique qualities with everything about them, and that's what I think makes it special. And so it sounds like that's what you're wanting to bring to your work, is to bring, that very human element to it, that whatever character you're playing, you're showing their humanness, which I think is really nice. So
I think it's
yeah.
important. I also think it's important for society for women not to think that they have to be a certain way. I
Yes,
don't
yeah.
think our kids should be looking up to or admiring or wanting to be like women who don't want to be themselves, that don't want to be human, that don't want to look like themselves, that don't want to look like society.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
I think it's important personally. I just really do. I just do. I do.
Yeah,
I got tired
yeah,
of seeing it and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna come back and figure it out somehow.
yes. I have a question? Do you write at all? Like, have you ever written screenplays or anything for theater before?
That's interesting you asked that. I actually, before I moved back, I took a playwriting class and I did it as a hobby just on the side. And it was post-COVID. I started writing a play about my family uh, during COVID. And it was loosely based on Death of a Salesman. And it was
Yes.
really hard to write. And I got about three-quarters of the way through. And then I realized that I need to, that was part of my decision to come back to LA because I'm like, I can't really finish this piece. I can't finish writing it until I get in touch with my creativity again. I'd
Mhm.
kind of lost my creativity and I was an actor and that's what I know how to do and that's what I was trained in. And I said, I need to bring this into my what I know how to do because I'm not a writer.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna see if I might go back to it. I'm not sure yet,
Yeah,
but right now I feel like it's helped send me into where I am now, the
yeah,
writing.
Yeah.
yeah. I was curious because it sounds like you're so passionate about it that I could imagine some really powerful writing coming out of you. That I was just curious because I think, yeah, just I was just wondering because it sounds like you would write some really powerful things that could touch people. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I'll pick it up. I'm going to finish it one of these
Yeah.
days.
Do you feel overall that there are more maybe opportunities and more generally just more kind of powerful human roles out there now because maybe people are looking more for that in our current world? I feel like it's something a lot of people are kind of craving is something more human and more real things. So do you find as you're looking around more opportunities for that, or do you find the opposite?
I hope so. I hope there are, and I think there are. I think there are. I mean, I grew up in the 80s. Um, and the 90s. I spent a lot of auditions screaming. Every audition was I was either screaming, I was being murdered, or all these horrible things were happening to me, or I was just a real bitch. It was really one or the other. I was like I'm the lawyer and everything. There was no real in between. And I really do think that that has changed. And I think there are more, oh, my dog's barking. There are more there are more evolved roles for women now than there were. And I think there's more women involved in directing and writing and producing. And I think that's fantastic. So yeah, I think so. I hope so. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You are currently can be seen in a movie where you're a victim, correct? Like Portrait of a
Yes.
Killer Granny. So can you
Yes.
maybe tell us a little bit about this character?
Well, this was my first step back in front of the camera, which I was nervous about because it had been a long time. And the film is directed by his name's Chad Farron, and he makes these serial killer movies. And he kind of has an ensemble cast. And the lead actress that played Dorothea, Susan Prever, uh, we've known each other. We knew each other years ago, and she's actually in this play as well. She's in the
Oh, wow.
second one act of the play, which is at the
Oh.
Odyssey Theater, called The Lovers. And so she plays Dorothea, and Dorothea she's fantastic. It's got humor and comedy, and it's creepy, and it's based on a true story. So I don't know, ethically, it's a whole nother conversation. Um, but I play a woman who has wrinkles, who is having a hard time in life. She's was an addict and she's living in kind of squalor, and she gets taken advantage of by this other woman because she speaks out, and I get to die again. I'm really good at die. I do a lot of dying scenes. And I hadn't done one in a long time, so I get poisoned, which is really, I've never been poisoned.
Oh,
I
wow.
Nice.
had, yeah, I get poisoned, and so it was fun. It was just a couple days, and it was really good to get back and see what would happen. Like, man, I didn't know what it was going to be like being back on set again. So they gave me the
Yeah.
opportunity. I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. It was really fun. Again, it is fun.
Yes. And I think too, it's nice to hear your perspective as well, like what it's like for you getting back into acting after being in acting, taking a little break, and then going back into it. Because I would imagine that's very inspiring for many actors because, you know, in any creative field, I feel like there's times that you might just have to, have other things in your life that are going on to stop that for a little bit of time. And then I think sometimes people almost get fearful or afraid of going back and feeling like they can't do it. So I think I'm super excited that you're back.
Yeah, me
Thank
too.
you.
I was like, where did she go?
I know. Where did I go? Well, it's fun because I talk to the students, and the students are like, they're so like, oh, I got to do it now. I have to do it now. Everything has to happen
Yeah.
now. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. And you're going to
Yeah.
change and evolve, and your art's going to change and evolve. This is a life process. Living your
Yes.
life is part of it. You gotta live life. You gotta walk around this earth. You
Yeah.
gotta talk to people, touch people, you know. It's
Don't
important.
just be in a screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, don't even get me started.
So with the play that you're in, just so people so has it currently started yet? What are the dates? Where is it at? Like if people are in the area, like how can they get tickets to see that?
So it opens Friday, so March 20th,
Okay.
and it goes on, I think it's 6 weeks. So March 20th to April, I have it written down, April 26th. It's
Yes.
LA. So if you're in the LA area, and it's at the Odyssey Theater.
Okay.
So the Odyssey Theater, and I think there's a website, maybe if I look at it, odysseytheater.com. Odysseytheater.com. It's called Sex, Lies, and Harold Pinter. And it's two one
Mm.
acts, and I'm in the first one act. I play Charlotte. It's very
Oh,
theatrical,
okay.
very different than Katie.
So exciting, so exciting. And what we'll also put like links in our description of the video and everything
Mhm.
for anything you're working on so people know how to find
Thank
it. So
you.
Yes,
I have
absolutely.
another, there's a film I did, which I think it's coming out next month. It's called Henry. A small
Ooh.
part in it, but it was a mom part, and it's about a cow. It's a cow movie. And it's about a boy that has a cow who's a friend, and
oh,
an altercation happens, and somehow my child gets killed. And
Mhm.
oh
so it's a
wow.
court scene where I have to be questioned about the death of my son. And it's not a long scene, but it was also really, really good stepping stone back to see what it was like to
Wow,
access
yes.
being a mom and having a kid and being in front of a camera and having a crew and director and Michelle Schilling, she was the director, and she wrote it. And it's a beautiful script, and it's coming out as well. It's called Henry, and I'm excited to see that as well. So
Wow, that does sound really interesting for sure.
Sounds exciting. Yeah. So definitely send us any links or info related to that as well, and we'll
I
Yeah,
will.
talk in.
I will.
Yeah,
yeah,
because we'll be happy
yeah.
to promote these things so that maybe other people who are interested can also find. Because it sounds like you have very special roles that you choose, so I think it could be very interesting.
That is so cool. So, I mean, I think have we reached the end of our questions, unless I can't think of anything else. Um, oh my gosh, it's truly like we were so excited to talk to you. Like, I so
Aw.
thank you so much because I had like a little freak out moment. I was very, very nervous beforehand, but I knew as soon as like I actually got you on Zoom, then like I'd be fine and it would feel normal. But so thank you so much because yeah, it's just really exciting to be able to talk with talent that has been on Stargate and other things. And me and Alyssa have talked so much about Stargate within the last
Yeah.
few years, but even way back, Alyssa was the one that introduced me to it when we were like much younger. And so yeah, never could I have imagined that we would be doing a podcast and then get the chance to speak with you. So thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you so
No,
much.
you're
I've been
welcome. I
really,
mean, think about it. It was 20 years ago. I didn't think that we'd be talking about it now either. So it's exciting.
yeah.
It's so
I have
fun.
I have one question. I mean, maybe it's not, this is just something I'm curious. One, I mean, were the plants all real on the set? And I see you have plants in your background. So do you actually yourself like plants?
I love plants. I actually live in an old 100-year-old cabin up
Ooh.
in the up above Holly, like up above Sunset, and
Uh-huh.
I have a huge oak tree, and it's a hundred year
Oh,
old oak tree, and
Wow.
that's my front yard.
oh
So
wow.
I
That's
live in a little
cool.
cabin under an oak tree, and I really feel like it's really the oak tree's home that we're borrowing for a little while. And I need to be by the oak tree. I need to be around, I don't have a lot of plants, um, but the ones I have really feed me and, um, and beautiful. I need trees. You need trees. You gotta have
Mhm.
Yes.
trees.
Yeah. I love trees.
Yeah.
We named our
For
tree
sure.
William. It's William.
Yeah, I was about to ask,
Oh,
do the plants have names? No, you answered
Yeah,
this
of
question.
course. Yeah, William Shakespeare is we call him William.
Perfect.
oh,
The oak
that's
tree.
nice.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. I name my plants too. I have a plant that for the longest time I thought it was an aloe plant, but it was not. And I think what is it? It's a jade plant. And my daughter had got it from her teacher when she was little, and it was this tiny
Aw.
little plant. And now it's about like quite big on like my windowsill. And let's see, I forget what I named it because I thought it was an aloe plant, but then I switched it to jade, the fake aloe plant. And then I have Avi, the avocado tree that I'm trying to grow.
Hobby's
Nice.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a Spidey plant for a while.
Aw.
I
Well,
wonder how big the Rodney Verosa plant is now.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
good question.
That's a
That's
good
a good
I
question. I
mean,
question.
wonder.
20 years, you think it's like how
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's a question for the Stargate creators. How big is
Yes.
it now?
Yeah. They need to bring back the plant.
Yes.
the plant,
Back,
bring back the plant.
that would be a nice Easter egg actually in one of the new episodes that comes out. Just maybe without
Mhm.
even see if somebody notices.
Yeah. That would be funny because I know that they do have weird little things that they do that I've read about where like putting pineapples in the background and
Hmm.
little things like that that it would be funny to like find that with the plant.
Yeah, well, they had it in the 4 episodes. There was one, when the plant was introduced, it was small, and then by the last episode, it was here, right? So
Yeah.
then, 20 years later, and then
Yeah.
maybe there's baby plant. Baby, I like the baby plants.
Yes.
Baby Rodneys.
Yeah.
All rightos. Well, is that everything? Or Alyssa, did you have any other
Yeah,
questions?
I'm sorry for that random. But
Okay.
no, thank you so, so much. This has really
Of
been amazing
course.
and wonderful and perfect. So we really, really, really appreciate it.
Great.
And
Yes.
I
Well,
hope it
thank you
was fun
guys for
for you.
reaching out. Yeah, it was fun. Of course,
Uh,
it's fun talking about this. I've got to relearn how to talk about Stargate and the work and being an actor and LA
yeah.
and you know